everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to do a story time about my sickness. So I'm going to start all the way from when I was first feeling the symptoms to when I was diagnosed with what I have. So in the beginning, around September or August of 2016 is when I was starting to feel the most, it was starting the illnesses. And that's when I was feeling more sick to my stomach than anything. I was on a new birth control and I was having bronchitis that wouldn't go away. When I would go down to an urgent care about my bronchitis, they go, oh, just take some antibiotics. And they were kind of writing it off. So then around November is when I was starting to feel the most of it. It was more of weight loss because my bronchitis was making me cough so hard that I was throwing up, and I was losing weight from that. I was getting nosebleeds all the time, and I wasn't really understanding why that was happening. They also wouldn't go away for extended periods of time. They would stay for maybe 4 hours, and that is not okay. It wasn't clotting is the reason that it would stay for so long. Then I would have a bladder infection every now and again, and it would go away for maybe a day and then come back. So it was reoccurring sicknesses, reoccurring infections, and I had bruises everywhere. People were starting to tell me that I looked pale. I was having really heavy periods, and I was just not feeling overall well. My entire body was not feeling right. When I Googled these symptoms, it would say, at the top of it, it would say different forms of cancer. And when I would read that, I'd think, oh, that's not me. And I'd scroll past it. And I'd think, okay, what are the other things that could be wrong with me? And it would say, anemia. Okay, maybe that's right. I'd scroll past that, a different one, and I go, oh, okay, maybe that's it. But I was never really looking at what was wrong with me in the entire thing and taking into consideration. I was short of breath, and my heart rate would just, it felt like my heart was going to beat out of my neck. I could put my hands on my neck and I'd feel my entire heartbeat, and it would pump so fast. I was at 150 a minute. It was so crazy. My Fitbit would tell me, hey, great workout. But I didn't work out. I just sat up out of bed. What do you mean great workout, you know? So I knew something was wrong. And December is when it really started getting bad. I was going to urgent cares constantly for different problems. And I didn't really have a primary physician, which is what I should have done from the start and gone to a real doctor. But I didn't. I was doing urgent cares, which is a huge mistake. Don't do that. Urgent cares, it's good for a quick problem to fix it right then. But if you want the overall well-being of your body, go to a physician. I would go to these urgent cares and they would look at me and go, bronchitis, that could be it, and then send me on my way with medicine. For my ear infection, they did the exact same thing. They gave me a 10-day course thing, and by the 10th day, it should be gone, right? And it should be most effective around 7 and 8 days, and this is what they were telling me. They gave me the 10-day process, and I remember on day 11 and 12, it's still there, no improvement. I was starting to get frustrated. I'd go back to the urgent care. Hey, this is what you guys gave me. It didn't work. Okay, here's a new one. And they go, oh, it's probably viral. It's probably this. It's probably that. And they weren't really checking for anything. They never did a swab test. They never really took samples of my ear. They just said, it's probably this. And they were just treating me and then on to the next patient, and it was maybe 5 minutes with the doctor. I couldn't sit there and go, oh, by the way, I also feel my heartbeat in my neck, or by the way, I have shortness of breath getting out of bed. These were problems that I thought were just me. I didn't think it was something big. I was just thinking, it's probably because I'm so stressed. Stress does crazy things to the body, is what these teachers at school were telling me. But it wasn't until I really couldn't get out of bed that I was starting to take my health seriously, like true serious, because I was done with school. I had already finished out that semester, did finals, went through the entire stress, and I was still feeling all these symptoms, so it couldn't have been stress. I remember I went to the dentist And this is when it really started, when shit really hit the fan. I went to the dentist, and my mom works there, and I went down there, I drove all the way down, and the hygienist is doing my teeth, and she goes, that's weird. And I'm friends with her, so it's okay for her to say things like that, but at the time I was like, what does that mean? And then she flossed my teeth some more, and she goes, you're bleeding a lot. And I moved my tongue around, my entire mouth was full of blood. And it has never done that before. I knew my norm. I knew what my body usually does, and this was not it. The last few months were not normal for me. So having my entire mouth full of blood, I'm like, this is something strange. And right after that, she pulled my mom aside separately from me and said, I think your daughter might have anemia. Now, she's just a hygienist, she's not a physician, but it was still like, anemia, okay? So I'm looking at the symptoms, and most of them matched with what I had, with the symptoms that I had and how I was feeling, and anemia looked right. I was thinking, okay, so what do I do to get rid of it? How do I self-diagnose this, is what I was thinking. And they said, iron supplements, take vitamins, and it should go away. Okay, I started doing that, but I was feeling worse and worse as time went on. And maybe a week later, I went shooting with a couple of my friends and family, and we were walking up this hill, and I remember halfway through it, I'm like, I need to sit down. This is too much for me. And I used to go to the gym. I used to be very into my health, and I could hike, I could run up mountains, I could do all this stuff. I'd do yoga every day. And now I can't even walk halfway up a slope. Something was wrong, and I didn't really know what. So that weekend, I told my mom, hey, give me an appointment with a primary physician. My old primary physician is no longer practicing, so I needed a new one, and I had just been putting that off for a long time, which you shouldn't do. I did that, and I called my mom, take me to your doctor, let's do that. So she makes an appointment for that Friday. And I'm thinking, okay, I can handle it. It's Sunday, Monday, I could do it. Whatever. So then I remember Monday night, I was just feeling terrible. It was the peak of how bad I was feeling. Shortness of breath to the extent where I couldn't sit out of bed. My heartbeat was getting like faster and harder. I'd have to sit down just after I'd pick up my rabbit out of her cage and sit up, and my entire body just felt, I need to sit down. This is too much. I just bent over, and now I can't do that. What's going on? So I called my mom and I said, is there something I could do sooner? I don't know if I could wait till Friday. And she made an appointment for Tuesday, the very next day. And that's when I started feeling worse. Tuesday I woke up, I sat out of bed, my heart rate was too fast, I was starting to see blackness coming in from both sides right here. And I'm thinking, this is scary. This is more than I thought it was, you know? And then I got up, just from where my bed was to where the toilet was, it was too far for me. And that's like barely anything in my apartment, my tiny apartment. I couldn't do that. And I remember sitting down on the toilet, like, just for my morning pee, and I couldn't, like, it was too hard for me to walk. It was too much for me to stand, everything. And so I was thinking, okay, I'm going to the doctor today, we're going to have an answer, we're going to find out what this is. And my mom picked me up, and I had to walk out to her car because she didn't know where the parking lot was in correlation to where my parking, like the parking lot to my apartment, she didn't know where that was, through what door. And so I went to go get her, and just the walk down the hallway was difficult for me. I had to stop multiple times to catch my breath. That's when I knew, like, okay, something is really wrong. I need to go to the doctor. She picked me up. We went immediately down to the doctor. We started talking to him for a while. I'm telling him everything about me. And then he goes, let me take some blood. I'm just going to prick your finger and we're going to see. So they pricked my finger, and I remember watching it because I'm a health science major, so I really like looking at, and it is my health. You know, I want to know what's going on. She pricks my finger, I'm watching the blood go down my finger, and it looks watery. It doesn't look like blood. It looks like faint like faint blood. I don't know how to describe it. It was watery, consistency was like Kool-Aid, honestly, and it's just going down my finger. It was weird. So the nurse, kind of wipes it up, takes the sample that she needs, and then they leave the room. When the doctor comes back, he goes, I have never seen hemoglobin this low on a living patient. Your hemoglobin is a 3. And I'm thinking, what does that mean, you know? Hemoglobin 3, what's normal? You know, why is mine so low? What happened? You know, and there were so many questions. And then he goes, you're going to go to the emergency across the street at that hospital, and as long as you go there immediately, I will not call a paramedic. And I'm thinking, what? What are you talking about? I was thinking, it's probably just anemia still. I was completely not thinking of anything other than anemia. I probably need a special medicine from the hospital. But I was kind of scared too, because in the back of my mind, why is my hemoglobin so low? And he said in the 26 years of his practice, he's never seen that in a living patient. That's weird. You know, that's beyond weird. That there's something wrong, seriously wrong. So we go over to the hospital, and I get in there, they get my name, and they tell me that I'm triage 1, which I don't know what that means. Okay, cool, great. So they take me and they immediately stroll me in everywhere, and after that is a blur. People are rushing over me, they're taking blood. I remember this one paramedic took my blood, and because it's so runny, it was splattering everywhere. And it was all a blur. Man. And the different nurses coming in, we were there for maybe 2 days before someone came up to us. It was a doctor. His name was the one on my name tag. I don't really know the significance of that, but he told me that he looked at my blood and he said, I want you to hear this from me as opposed to someone else. But when I looked at your blood, it looks like you have a blood disorder of either leukemia or lymphoma. And I'm thinking, what? Aren't those types of blood cancers? And I didn't really think about it. Me and my mom didn't talk about it. We just kind of was thinking, okay, that's strange. We were kind of in shock. We didn't know how to react. So after that, I was receiving a lot of blood transfusions and platelets in the hospital, still in the emergency room. And no one was really telling us what was going on until I was done receiving all this. They say, oh, we'll talk about that later. And then after that, they were switching me to a neutropenic environment, which means I couldn't have germs around me. I couldn't eat certain foods. Every nurse that came in had to wear a mask and gloves. Visitors that I had were limited. Everything that was going on was completely changed. And they didn't tell me why we were neutropenic. I was thinking, oh, maybe it's because I can't get sick. But they weren't saying anything. And then they scheduled me for a biopsy. And they were saying it was a bone tap biopsy in my back. And I'm thinking, okay, are they doing that to take a sample maybe? Check what's going on? And no one said anything to me, but I think the nurses knew. People around me knew what was going on, but I didn't really know. No one said anything to me. And the nurses can't really tell you what's going on, why things have changed, not until the doctor gets there. So I remember my doctor came in, and at the time, this is our first meeting, he came in and he introduces himself to everyone in the room, shakes everyone's hand. And I'm thinking, he's going to be someone that's staying with us then if he's doing this. And then he turns to me and he goes, you're Rachel, right? And I go, yeah. And he says, I'm your new oncologist. And I'm thinking, oncology, doesn't that mean cancer? And I didn't say anything. I didn't want to sound dumb. What if that's not what it was? You know, I didn't say anything. And then he goes, he turns to me and my whole family's here. And he says, you have leukemia. I just looked at your blood. And hearing that, I'm in complete shock. I'm in complete denial. I don't know what he's talking about. What does that mean? What does leukemia mean? And that's what I asked him. What is leukemia? What is it? Like, let me hear it from him. And he goes over the entire thing with me, how the blood in my body is different than a normal person, how my body overproduced white blood cells and I don't have enough red blood cells, and there's cancerous cells in my bone marrow, the whole thing. And by the end of his little talk, I'm in complete tears and I'm shaking from crying so much, and it was too much for me to hear. I'm 21 years old and I'm being told that I have leukemia in front of my entire family. It was a lot for me. It was a lot. It was the single hardest moment in my life to hear that. And we didn't know what this meant for the rest of my life. We didn't know what was going on. So we just kind of stared at him, and then he said, okay, well, I'm going to be back tomorrow to talk to you more about this. I'll give you some time. You're being admitted to the hospital, and we're going to have your biopsy in a few minutes. And I was like, okay. And I remember being strolled down to the biopsy, and they wouldn't let me walk, but I'm in one of those foldable beds, and I'm just bawling my eyes out. And I can hear my family following behind me, and they're crying too. It was just one big mess. And the entire biopsy, I didn't even care that they were drilling a hole in my back. I couldn't care less. And it was so crazy. It was one of the craziest days of my entire life. And from there, I was admitted into the hospital, and they told me I have to be through a chemo treatment. I have to be there for 28 days, and that's where I was just, I didn't know what was ahead of me. It was just insane. You know, I'm starting to cancel my DMV appointment for the next day. I'm thinking, do I have to get rid of school? My classes were going to start. I had all these appointments set up. I didn't know what to do. And that's kind of something that I would like to talk about in another video potentially too. But if you're ever in a situation where your health is compromised, go to a doctor, okay? Go to a physician. Do not go to urgent care unless it's a minor little thing. Go to your primary physician and talk to them. Your health is the single most important thing in your life, and you should take it serious. I was putting it off. I was thinking, oh, it must be stress. The bronchitis might be because I was volunteering at a hospital and I was around sick people. Maybe that's why I had recurring sicknesses. I was thinking that, and I wasn't really connecting the dots or really thinking about what was happening in my life. And that's something that I wish someone had told me back when I was first feeling these symptoms, that I need to go to a physician. I need to stop feeling this way and take control of my own health. And I hope that's something that you can take away from this video, to really see, like, why am I getting so many bruises? Why do I feel this way? And seek help no matter what you're feeling, what symptoms you have, what signs are happening to you. Go fix the problem, and especially before it gets worse. And so that's all I had to say about this video. Comment down below, like my video, I don't know, first YouTube video. But thank you guys for watching.